Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
द भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिविजयचार्य अष्टोत्तर सत श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रीला भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोसाई महाराज श्रीला प्रभुपाद की, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की, नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से बोलो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा, श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय। श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, मथुरा धाम की जय, मायापुर धाम की जय, नवदीप धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, सामवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्री श्री गुरु एंड श्री गौरंगा, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं, देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया, भगवती तमाश्लोके गति उत्तम, भक्तिर्भवती नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च, नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। नमो पंकजनाभाय, नमो पंकजमालिने, नमो पंकजनेत्राय, नमस्ते पंकजांग्रये। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च, नंदगोपाकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Canto 6, Chapter 5, and text is 36. So yesterday Dravida Prabhu covered till 35. So I was hearing some part of the class, so we'll continue from there. So I seek your blessings so that we can discuss this today, this text of Bhagavatam, and also bring change in our heart. श्री दक्षा उवाच अहो असाधो साधूनां साधुलिंगेन नास त्वया असाध्व अकारे अर्भकाणं भिक्षोर मार्गः प्रदर्शितः। श्री दक्ष उवाच Prajapati Dakṣa said, oh sorry, Shri Dakṣa Vacha, Aho asādhu sādhūnām sadhu lingena nastvaya asādvakari arbhakanam bhikshur marga pradarshitah. Shri Dakṣa Vacha, Aho asādhu sādhūnām sadhu lingena nastvaya asādvakari arbhakanam bhikshur marga pradarshitah. Shri Dakṣa Vacha, Aho asādhu sādhūnām sadhu lingena nastvaya asādhavakari arbhakanam bhikshur marga pradarshitah.
Aho asādhu sādhūnām sadhu lingena nastvaya asādvakari arbhakanam bhikshur marga pradarshitah.
Bhikshur marga pradarshitah. Aho asādhu sādhūnām sadhu lingena nastvaya asādvakari arbhakanam bhikshur marga pradarshitah. Shri Dakṣa Vacha, Aho asādhu sādhūnām sadhu lingena nastvaya asādvakari arbhakanam bhikshur marga pradarshitah. Shri Dakṣa Vacha, Aho asādhu sādhūnām sadhu lingena nastvaya asādvakari arbhakanam marga pradarshitah. Shri Dakṣa Vacha, Aho asādhu sādhūnām sadhu lingena nastvaya asādvakari arbhakanam bhikshur marga pradarshitah. Shri Dakṣa Vacha, Aho asādhu sādhūnām sadhu lingena nastvaya asādvakari arbhakanam bhikshur marga pradarshitah. Shri Dakṣa Vacha, Aho asādhu sādhūnām sadhu lingena nastvaya asādvakari arbhakanam bhikshur marga pradarshitah. Shri Dakṣa Vacha, Prajapati Dakṣa said, Aho asādhu, O greatly dishonest non-devotee, sadhunam, of the society of devotees and great sages, sadhu lingena, wearing the dress of a saintly person, na, unto us, tvaya, by you, asādhu, a dishonesty, akari, has been done, arbhakanam, of poor boys who were very inexperienced, Bhikshu Marga, the path of a beggar or mendicant. Sannyasi. Pradarshita, shown. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prajapati Dakṣa said, Alas, Nārada Muni, you wear the dress of a saintly person, but you are not actually a saint. Indeed, although I am now in gṛhastha life, I am a saintly person. By showing my sons the path of renunciation, you have done me an abominable injustice. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sannyasira alpa chidra sarva loke gaye. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 12.51. In society, one will find many sannyasis, vanaprasthas, gṛhasthas, brahmacharis, but if all of them properly live in accordance with their duties, they are understood to be sadhus. Prajapati Dakṣa was certainly a sadhu because he had executed such great austerities that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, had appeared before him. Nevertheless, he had a fault-finding mentality. He improperly thought Nārada Muni to be asādhu or non-saintly because Narada had foiled his intentions. Desiring to train his sons to become gṛhasthas fully equipped with knowledge, Dakṣa had sent them to execute austerities by Nārāyaṇa-saras. Nārada Muni, however, taking advantage of their highly elevated position in austerity, instructed them to become Vaiṣṇavas in the renounced order. This is the duty of Nārada Muni and his followers. They must show everyone the path of renouncing this material world and returning home back to Godhead. Prajapati Dakṣa, however, could not see the exaltedness of the duties of Nārada Muni performed in relation to his sons. Unable to appreciate Nārada Muni's behavior, Dakṣa accused Narada of being asādhu. The word Bhikshur Marga, the path of renounced order, are very significant in this regard. A sannyasi is called Tridandi Bhikshu because his duty is to beg alms from the homes of gṛhasthas and to give the gṛhasthas spiritual instructions. A sannyasi is allowed to beg from door to door, but a gṛhastha cannot do so. Gṛhasthas may earn their living according to the 4 divisions of spiritual life. A Brahmana gṛhastha may earn his livelihood by becoming a learned scholar and teaching people in general how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He may also assume the duty of worship himself. Therefore, it is said that only Brahmanas may engage in deity worship and they may accept as prasada whatever people offer the deity. Drabala Prabhu, I have one question. What does this mean himself? He may also assume the duty of worship himself.
In lessons, he may also assume the duty of worship himself. And teaching people in general how to worship the Supreme Personality of God, he may also assume the duty of worship himself. Not that he's worshiping himself. He himself may also assume the duty of worship. Do you understand?
Oh, I see.
Maybe
Okay.
that himself.
Okay, yeah, that was confusing me.
He himself may also assume.
Therefore, it is said that only Brahmanas may engage in deity worship and they may accept as prasad whatever people offer the deity. Although a Brahmana may sometimes accept charity, it is not for his personal maintenance but for the worship of the deity. Thus, a Brahmana does not stock anything for his future use. Similarly, a Kshatriya may collect taxes from the citizens and they must also protect the citizens, enforce rules and regulations, and maintain law and order. Vaishyas should earn their livelihood through agriculture and cow protection, and Shudras should maintain their livelihood by serving the 3 higher classes. Unless one becomes a Brahmana, one cannot take sannyas. Sannyasis and brahmacharis may beg alms door to door, but a gṛhastha cannot. Prajapati Dakṣa condemned Nārada Muni because Narada, a brahmachari who could beg from door to door, had made sannyasis of Daksha's sons, who were being trained to be gṛhasthas. Dakṣa was extremely angry at Narada because he thought that Narada had done him a great injustice. According to Daksha's opinion, Nārada Muni had misled Daksha's inexperienced son, asādhu akari arbhakanam. Daksha regarded his sons as innocent boys who had been misled when Narada showed them the renounced order of life. Because of all these considerations, Prajapati Dakṣa charged that Nārada Muni was asādhu and should not have adopted the dress of a sadhu. Sometimes a saintly person is misunderstood by gṛhasthas, especially when he instructs their young sons to accept Krishna consciousness. Generally, a gṛhastha thinks that unless one enters gṛhastha life, he cannot properly enter the renounced order. If a young man immediately adopts the path of the renounced order in accordance with the instructions of Narada or a member of his disciplic succession, his parents become very angry. This same phenomena is occurring in our Krishna consciousness movement because we are instructing all the young boys in the Western countries to follow the path of renunciation. We allow gṛhastha life, but a gṛhastha also follows the path of renunciation. Even a gṛhastha has to give up so many bad habits that his parents think his life has been practically destroyed. We allow no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, and consequently the parents wonder how, if there are so many no's, one's life can be positive. In the Western countries especially, these 4 prohibited activities practically constitute the life and soul of the modern population. Therefore, parents sometimes dislike our movement, just as Prajapati Dakṣa disliked the activities of Narada and accused Narada of dishonesty. Nevertheless, although parents may be angry at us, we must perform our duty without hesitation because we are in the disciplic succession from Nārada Muni. People addicted to householder life wonder how one can give up the enjoyment of gṛhastha life, which is a concession for sex enjoyment, simply to become a mendicant in Krishna consciousness. They do not know that the householder's concession for sex life cannot be regulated unless one accepts the life of a mendicant. The Vedic civilization therefore enjoins that at the end of one's 50th year, one must give up household life. This is compulsory. However, because modern civilization is misled, householders want to remain in family life until death, and therefore they are suffering. In such cases, the disciples of Nārada Muni advise all the members of the younger generation to join the Krishna consciousness movement immediately. There is nothing wrong in this. Very wonderful, beautiful purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaiṣṇavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatam ham vande Shri Guru Dīnataranam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Such a beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada. All the living entities, even starting from an ant to all of us, we are looking for happiness. But we are trying to find that happiness in so many things. And since we are not this body, we are not this mind, we are the spirit soul, which is part of Krishna. So we are not able to find that happiness there. And we get frustrated. Because the actual position of our soul is to be the servant of Krishna. Jivira Swarup hoy Krishnera Nityadas. And when we connect to Krishna, when we become the servant of Krishna, when we serve Krishna, only then we can get that happiness that we are looking for. So similarly, Nārada Muni, who is one of the best preachers, he is always singing the glories of the Lord. Nārada Muni bajaye veena radhika ramana name. He is trying to give that happiness, traveling to so many different places and planets, so that the living entities can revive their innate consciousness, their own nature, which is to serve Krishna. And he's clearing the mind from so many different distractions, Cheto Darpan Marjanam. Through the chanting of the holy names, he's chanting the names of Krishna. So in this purport also, we see that Nārada Muni, he's preaching to the sons of Dakṣa, who were supposed to become gṛhasthas as per his father's desire, but now they want to take renounced order of life, brahmacharya ashram. So in the beginning we see this verse by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sannyasira alpa chidra sarva loke gaye. So I'll just read this verse. It's a very beautiful verse. Please, you can repeat after me. Shukla vastra masi bindu yaiche nalukaye. Shukla vastra masi bindu yaiche nalukaye. Sannyasira alpa chidra sarvaloke gaye. Shukla vastra masi bindu yaiche nalukaye. Sannyasira alpa chidra sarvaloke gaye. So Prabhupada translates it as soon as the general public finds a little fault in the behavior of a sannyasi, they advertise it like wildfire. A black spot of ink cannot be hidden on a white cloth. It is always very prominent. So Prabhupada is writing that in society one will find many sannyasis, vanaprasthas, grihasthas and brahmacharis, but all of them properly live accordance with their duties. They are understood to be sadhus. But here we see that in this verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita, that as soon as there is a little fault in a behavior of a sannyasi, they will advertise it like wildfire. Just like on a white cloth, if there is ink, you can immediately see that. It cannot be hidden. It is always very prominent. So, just like, in a civilized society, we say that wealth, character and health, these are three important things. So, if character is lost, everything is lost. If health is lost, something is lost. And if wealth is lost, nothing is lost. But nowadays it has reversed. It is, if character is lost, nothing is lost. Health is still there. If health is lost, something is lost. And if wealth is lost, everything is lost. So the wealth of a sannyasi is his character, because sannyasi doesn't have any money or he doesn't have any assets, right? The only thing he has is character, his reputation, how he behaves. Does he lives by the principle of sannyasi as a acharya, living with character, living with integrity? And if you've lost that, everything is lost. So that is one of the most important principle. And later Prabhupada mentions that Prajapati Dakṣa was certainly a sadhu because he had executed such great austerities that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, had appeared before him. Nevertheless, he had a fault-finding mentality. So we see here that Krishna actually appeared before Prajapati Dakṣa, right? And still he was finding fault in others. He was finding fault. So similar contrast we can see in Krishna Leela, when Krishna was going to Mathura. Kansa sent Akrura to him, and Krishna was going to Mathura to fight the wrestling match. We see that there was a washerman, and Krishna was asking for some clothes for him, that we want clothes to go and wear. But that washerman, he was only interested in his liberation, and just seeing Krishna and not to love Krishna, not to serve Krishna. He was just interested. And when Krishna asked for clothes, he didn't give the clothes, So there are so many instances in our scriptures where, people have seen the Lord, but still they do not develop love for Krishna, because ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tatev bhajamiham. Because whatever desire we have, Krishna will reciprocate accordingly. We see Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, Ravan, all of them, these demons, they saw the Lord face to face. But they have some ulterior motive. But true bhakti, as Bhagavatam explains, is ahetuki apratihata, which is unmotivated and uninterrupted. And that is what Nārada Muni is trying to teach here. So, and then he had a fault-finding mentality. So we see that fault-finding mentality is, one of the biggest impediment in our spiritual life. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that if you want to be successful in your life, you have to do two things. If you want to achieve perfection in life, first is to chant the holy names of Krishna, and second is not to criticize anybody. So that will impede our bhakti. So fault finding is a very dangerous, quality. And later in this purport it is explained how Nārada Muni is being called asādhu, and he is following the intentions of Daksa and all those things. So we also see that how in our practical life, there are young boys, they want to take brahmacharya ashram, and the parents, try to avoid that. So a similar incident occurred, a few years back. So I'll just share that true incident that happened. Dravida Prabhu has a flute today also. So I would like, before I start, if he can.
Has a flute?
Flute. Dravida Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Okay, that's okay. Yeah, so we'll continue. So there is a pastime, true story about that's okay, leave him.
Oh, it's flute.
Yeah, Prabhu, would you like to?
My mic.
Yeah.
So what am I playing?
Huh?
Oh, what rasa? What raga?
Fifth raga.
Oh boy, I don't know that one. Yeah, is it on?
Haribo.
Now, which one of your children is going to learn to play the flute now? Anyway, so there it is.
Once more, Prabhuji.
One more?
One more.
All right.
It's Krishna playing the flute on the Bamsi Vata. Haribol! Very nice.
All the speakers are going to want to have a little area like that.
Yeah, it was so soothing to hear, Prabhu. It was very nice. As if Krishna is standing on the Bamsi Vata and playing the flute.
Is he still smiling?
Yeah, I think so. Hare Krishna. Which note, which raga was that?
I have no idea. The one I know.
So there was this brahmachari. He joined the ashram, and his family came along with his uncle, and they started to argue with the leader of the temple, saying that because of you, this person has, he had a high-paying job. He was in a managerial job, and now he has quit everything. He has joined the ashram. So the leader of the temple said that I am fine if he wants to go away. It's his choice. It's his free will that he joined it. It's not like I am telling him. And if he wants to go and accept a gṛhastha ashram, that's fine, because within our community, like 80-90% of the people are gṛhasthas, right? And being in the gṛhastha ashram, you can also practice Krishna consciousness. We have Bhakti Vinod Thakur and so many other examples. So, and then the leader said to the parents that if he wants to take this path, then why are you stopping him? If it's his decision, then who are you or me to come in between Krishna and him? Let him take his own decision. And he started mentioning that there are so many examples of people who took renounced order of life at an early age, like Shankaracharya. He left his widowed mother at the age of 8. Madhavacharya, he left at the age of 11, and their parents were very much aggrieved. Ramanujacharya, he also left early. But look what they have done for the society. I mean, they have done tremendous good for the society, because there are so many ways they have helped the society in different ways. And finally, they discussed with the boy whatever happened. They left, and the parents and the uncle was very, very angry. And then after a few years, this uncle contracted cancer, and he was admitted to the hospital. And the leader of the temple went to see him, because he had seen him in a very furious mood, and now he was lying on the bed and very different circumstances. So he was talking to him, and this uncle was actually crying looking at him and saying, I am so very grateful to you, because my nephew, who joined our ashram, he's the only one that is doing good to me. Because other people are coming, my relatives are coming, they are just crying, and they are saying, when will you become fine, and do you need anything? They can't do really anything. But my nephew, he's giving me the real help. He's telling me that you are not this body, you are this soul. He's teaching me how to chant the holy name. He's connecting to my eternal soul, to Lord, what will happen to me after I die. He's bringing me prasadam, he's reading Bhagavad Gita, he's telling the pastimes of Krishna, Ram. So he's my true friend. Suhridam sarva bhutanam. Krishna is the real well-wisher. And the devotees are also like that, because they are carrying that message of Krishna in their heart. And so he's taking care of me, physically as well as spiritually. So I'm very indebted and very grateful to him. So there are so many ways, these leaders, these brahmacharis, sannyasis, gṛhasthas, everybody who are on the path of Krishna consciousness, they are helping. And but parents will always become angry. That's okay. So there is an example of a sannyasi within our ISKCON, And he had 20 siblings. Imagine when they sit for dinner on a big table, and if somebody is walking from outside, it looks like it's a restaurant. Prabhu, do you know the name of the Maharaj? I forgot his name.
Who has 20 siblings?
Yeah, he's from the Middle East.
I don't know.
Okay. And and one of the siblings accepted a sannyas ashram, and the mother was crying. And the reason why she was crying is, "Oh, I will not have grandkids from you." You all so and I also want to, in this connection, I also want to share the story of Jagat Chakshu Prabhu. He's our Bhakti Sundar Goswami Maharaj. He's a dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So, on the contrary, his parents actually wanted him to take, the renounced order, wanted to become like a priest. So, Jagat Chakshu Prabhu's parents, they lived in Syria. And, where Syria is? It's in Syria. Syria. It's in the Middle East. And they had 3 sons which died very early. And they went to a pilgrimage and they prayed to the Lord, if you give us a son who lives, then we'll definitely give that son to you. We'll make him a priest. So Jagat Chakshu Prabhu, he was born in December of 1951. And for the first 3 years after he was born, their parents put on a robe on him, like a monk, for the first 3 years. So I don't know after the 4th year what they did, but 3 years they put on a monk's robe on him. And when he was 2 years old, they moved from Syria to Venezuela in South America. And when he was 9, they returned again back to Syria. And his father had a big, like a construction company. And when he turned 14, they sent him to school to get educated for becoming a priest in the Catholic Church. But in 1970, one of the friends who came from New York gifted him an album. It was called the Happening Album. Can you share something about that Happening Album, Prabhu?
I think that was the first one, right?
Yeah.
First record?
Yeah, that was the first record. That was in 1966 with Srila Prabhupada, recorded with Mukunda Goswami.
Yeah, he was on, I don't even know if he was initiated yet. I think it was Michael Grant at that point.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes,
yeah. It was quite if you look at it from the outside, it was quite miraculous that it happened. There was this one gentleman, first of all, Prabhupada got a little bit of famous because of Allen Ginsberg. Allen Ginsberg was a very, very famous poet, a beat poet and the whole thing, and he was living in the Lower East Side, and he was chanting Hare Krishna. He had picked up Hare Krishna, and he was chanting even before Prabhupada came. Didn't know exactly what it was about. And so when he heard there was this ashram at 22nd Avenue, he came by. He gave Prabhupada the first harmonium, which I can enhance the arati, the kirtans. And then he also paid to help Prabhupada renew his visa. So he was doing a lot. So there was a story in the New York Times about Prabhupada chanting in Tompkins Square Park. So there was one gentleman who was making records of famous people, not just music, but speaking. It was unusual at the time, and so he wanted to know if Prabhupada could make a record with his first disciples, chanting Hare Krishna and saying something about the mantra.
Yes. Yeah.
Prabhupada said, "Of course, yes, great." So that was itself it's miraculous. They just like first year they were there. I think the movement had just been founded, 66. And what's really remarkable is that because all Prabhupada was playing, you see him in that video in the Tompkins Square, he's playing a half a bongo. I used to play the bongo drums. There's 2 drums, but there had been disassembled, and he's playing one half a bongo drum, and that was all the percussion for hours. He was singing in Tompkins Square Park, and that was the drum for the kirtans. So the night before, they were going to record the record. This young man comes in, maybe 18, 19. He knocks at the door. He comes into and he has a madanga with him. How do you have a madanga? I know where he got the madanga. I think I know where we got the Mridanga. Because I lived on the Lower East Side in 1968, 2 blocks from Tompkins Square Park, right down there near there. And I would see the Hare Krishnas. They had moved from, men that know the history, 26th 2nd Avenue up the street to 64th 2nd Avenue. It was a little bigger, it was growing. And then from there they went to Brooklyn, which is where I joined, in Henry Street. So I would see them, but I wasn't at all inclined at that point. I would be playing on the street. I'd be playing the flute on the street, looking for percussion. And in the park, the drummers would be playing conga drums and things. So I would hear the clink, tink, tink in the drums, and I would say, "Oh, that sounds good." And I would say, "Oh, that's just the Hare Krishnas," you know. So I wasn't ready for that. But they were a presence there in the Lower East Side. So the boy comes in and like right on First Avenue, you know, there's a Second Avenue. So on First Avenue, there's the Paradox Restaurant. And you'll find, if you read the Lilamrita, that was an important connection, because people would come there, and it was someone in the Paradox Restaurant who first heard about Prabhupada and brought him down from uptown to downtown. That was the big change. Invited him to come down, and he moved. Anyway, to make a long story short, so next to that Paradox Restaurant, or maybe two stores behind, was an Indian music store, Indian musical instrument store. They had sitar in there, which is famous from Ravi Shankar. He had already become famous, and other instruments. I don't remember seeing a mridanga drum, but that was the only possible place where somebody would buy a mridanga drum at that time in the Lower East Side. So he got it, and he brought it to the storefront. Prabhupada saw it, and his eyes widened. He said, "Oh, try to bring up here," you know. So of course he loaned it there, and Prabhupada started playing, and he was, you know, he's an excellent player, you know. And devotees were like, "Well, there's another amazing thing about Swamiji." So that's then he played, but then at the end of the night, he had to go to take his drum with him. He wasn't the devotee yet or anything. So they said, "Oh, Jack, or whatever his name is, we're making this record tomorrow. If you could come early, 7 o'clock, and bring the drum, we could use it on the record."
Oh.
It was Krishna sent that drum. So, it didn't look like he was that favorable, and he said, "Well, he's not going to come," but he came. And that drum enhances the whole album so much when you hear it. That's the drum Prabhupada is playing. Now, he may have dubbed that in, later, but Prabhupada played that drum so expertly and enhanced that record. And that record became circulated, and George Harrison got hold of it. And there's this pastime where he was on a vacation or something. He was near the Greek islands. They had a boat. Maybe he owned a boat or rented the boat. And I think he was with John Lennon. And they were relaxing on the boat, and they were playing that record again and again and again and again and again. And George Harrison really got attracted. So he knew about Prabhupada. He knew about Hare Krishna before the devotees came to England.
Wow!
So that was that record was very important, and the address is classic. I mean, what Prabhupada wrote, and it was nicely edited by Hayagriva. You could hear, and that's now a chapter in the Science of Self-Realization book. It was used in on chanting and all kinds of things. It's a wonderful address. It summarizes, the potency of the Hare Krishna mantra. That was just Krishna's arrangement that was made,
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much. I didn't know that John Lennon's first experience was this album.
Yeah.
In Beatles.
I don't know. Whether George
had visited India, he may have heard it before, but it's certainly, hearing from the pure devotee and hearing at length, it very much changed, George especially.
Nice. Yeah, I also want to know which chapter in Science of Self-Realization. Okay, thank you. So Prabhu was, what was his name, Prabhu, before Jagat Chakshu Prabhu's name? Michael?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay. So he was, so after he returned back, he went to school for this, he found this album, and Srila Prabhupada's voice actually intrigued him when he heard this happening album, Srila Prabhupada chanting the Mahamantra and explaining the meaning of each and every word. So it intrigued him, and he got connected to Prabhupada within his heart. And when he was going to this school for becoming a priest, he would ask them, "How does God look like?" Don't ask that question. Nobody knows how God looks like. And in 1973, once he went to a restaurant with his friend, and he was sitting and he was looking at all these buildings, and there was a rose flower on the desk. And he started crying. He said, man has made these buildings and God has made this beautiful flower. It's so beautiful, this fragrance. And he started crying. I want to know who is God. How does he looks like? So Krishna is in the heart. Sarvasya chaham hriday sani vishto. So Krishna reciprocated with him. So after a week, what happened is that he met a Hare Krishna devotee and they brought him to the temple and he asked the same question, how does God look like? And they showed a nice painting of Krishna with a pitambar dhoti, with a beautiful garland, costume, money, and playing a flute, like beautiful sound with all the peacock feather. So, and Krishna is like the color of the monsoon cloud, so beautiful. So he was totally convinced that yes, I got the answer. How does God actually look like? And he joined the temple next day. And then the following day he was sent on book distribution. So he went to his parents and told them that, I'm going to join this ashram. He said, yes, we want you to become a monk, but not this kind of monk, So, and he started living in the temple, in the ashram. And the parents didn't knew where he is because his house was like a couple of hours away from the temple. And the temple was the first temple in South America, so it wasn't in the phone books or there was no internet that time, so nobody knew where was it. So the parents went to a psychic seer. So the psychic seer sent a ghost. They showed him the picture of Prabhu and the psychic seer sent a ghost, go and find this person in this city. And the ghost actually came back and told the address to the psychic seer. This is where he is living. So he gave the address and then 3 cars came with the parents and uncle came and blessed him and, they saw the temple and then after looking at it, they were convinced that he won't last long here because it was not a very comfortable situation because it was a new temple. So, but in 1975, he was initiated as Jagat Chakshu Prabhu. So there's a different contrast I wanted to share here of how the relationship between the parents and the child. And then later in the purport, Prabhupada explains about Varna Ashram Dharma, So he very beautifully, Prabhupada explains that even a gṛhastha, not only a brahmachari, or even a gṛhastha can actually lead a renounced order of life, if he's living with Krishna in the center. So in the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna speaks about the Varnashram system. He says, Chaturvarna maya shishtam guna karma vibhagasha tasya kartaram apimam vidhi akartaram avyayam. According to the 3 modes of material nature and work associated with them, the 4 divisions of human society are created by me. So Krishna has created 4 divisions. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So Krishna has given this system, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha and sannyas. And then you have the different ashrams. We have these different ashram, and the word ashram comes from the word ashraya, which means to take shelter of Krishna. So all these ashrams, the main purpose is to take shelter of Krishna. And varnas, we have, what are the varnas? 4 varnas? Brahmachari, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells, the qualities of all of them. So for Brahmanas, it is said in chapter 1842, peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which Brahmanas work. And for Kshatriyas, it is heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity and leadership. Farming, cow protection and business are the natural work for the Vaishyas, and for the Shudras are the labor and service to others. And no one is better than the other, It's like, because Krishna has created it, so all of them are equal We should not consider one is higher or one is lower. It's just like the sun. The sun is shining and so many different rays are coming from the sun. If one ray thinks that, oh, I am better than the other one, it's not like that. All the rays are equally coming out from the sun. So Krishna is our father. He's our Pita. So if we try to think, oh, I am better than that person or this person, then it's not good. Krishna will not feel good about it. So every ashram is important. And everyone is required in the society. So there was one of the leaders of the temple, they were giving a speech in a college institute full of accountants, and somebody got up after the lecture, and when he got up, everybody was very enthusiastic. They started clapping. They know that this person is will ask a very good question. He will challenge the speaker. So the question that he asked to the speaker was, you are preaching this message of Krishna here. Do you want to make us all brahmacharis? Should we leave everything? Who will become accountant? Who will do all this business bank? Why are you teaching us about all these things? Why you want us to get renounced? And then everybody gave applause to, very nice questions, very challenging question. And the leader then responded, what if everybody in the world becomes an accountant? Who will do the banking? Who will do the business? Who will sell stuff? Who would be, cooking the food? And there was a bigger applause, standing ovation on his answer. Because everybody is required, right? Just like a body, although it is being digested by the stomach, but so many different parts of the body are required. You need the teeth and you need the tongue. Everything is required for the proper functioning of the body. Similarly, all the varnas and ashrams are important to function well in the society. And then, so sorry, how much time we have, Prabhu? I think it's done?
No.
Done? Okay. Okay, I'll wind it up. So, yeah, let me wind it up. I wanted to share the story of Kubja also, but anyways, I'll skip that. So we see that Nārada Muni is seeing the potential. So we see the potential in everybody, and the nature of the true devotee is that the propensity to find fault in others no longer exists. That is one lesson we can learn from this purport. And a true bhakta sees the potential in everyone, even though they are hunchbacked, just like Kubja was hunchbacked. And Krishna put his 2 toes, or his feet on her 2 toes and 2 fingers on her chin and just straightened her up. Krishna saw that potential in Kubja. She was Trivakra, she was very much deformed. And Krishna is Tribhanga, he's very beautiful. But Krishna saw that potential. So unless great souls see that potential in us, we do not have any hope to be straightened up. So Srila Prabhupada was asked, what qualification do we have that we got such a beautiful spiritual life? Prabhupada said that I made your qualification. And in the community of devotees, there may be so many faults, with all of us. And there may be people who step on each other's toes. But so what? So what? Because at the time of death, all these things doesn't mean anything to us. What really means is that are we able to remember Krishna? Because those are the devotees that will actually chant the holy name and, remind us. So we are trying to straighten each other. So these things are quite insignificant in comparison to the huge opportunity that we have right now. And of course, we do not allow others to go on with unfavorable activities. But there is a potential in all of us to identify the potential in others also, and the potential of beautiful lover of Krishna. So, and Krishna is giving us this opportunity through Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, through the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Prabhu, once more flute, please, in the ending. So you can imagine Krishna standing on the Vamsivat near the Yamuna river and playing the flute.
Then you have to let me give a verse about it.
Yes, Prabhu.
Barhapidam Nadavadavapu Karnayo Karnikaram Bibhrudvasak Kanakakapisham Vaijayantin Chamalam Randran Veno Radadasudeya Puriyan Gopa Vrindam Brinde Kamayatak Shadanam Abhayam Nam Niyung Swatmadasye. That's a different verse. Vrindaranye Sabadamanam Pravishat Kirti Kirti. Thank you. Getting old. With lovely peacock plume upon his head and fragrant flower placed upon each ear. Shri Krishna enters with lovely peacock plume upon his head and fragrant flower placed upon each ear. He enters Braja's wood with graceful tread, a handsome dancing actor without peer. His golden yellow raiment brightly glows, his splendid garland reaches to his knees, and from his luscious lips the nectar flows, and fills his flute with charming melodies. As Krishna thus begins his blissful day, with cowherd friends who see his glory sweet, who sing his glory sweet. He beautifies Vrindavan's forest way with fine impressions of his lotus feet. That's an introductory verse to the Venu-Gita chapter. That's where the gopis are singing like that, then they go Akshan Batam Balamidam Nabadam Vidam. So everyone can check out that chapter, chapter 21 in the Krishna book, or in the Bhagavatam. Then you'll see that verse. But you won't see the poem. For that you have to write me an email.
Okay. Sure, will write. Thank you, Dravida Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Any comments, questions, or online, offline? Yes, Prabhuji.
I believe a short story
Yeah.
about what is how the parents.
Hold on a moment, Mike. You got
Sure. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
I have a kind of funny story. One devotee joined back in my place, and he was very handsome, very smart, very rich economically. Famous family, all Catholic, traditional. They had so many priests in his family. I mean, in South America, in Ecuador specifically. Yes, I'm from Ecuador, by the way. And he has everything: handsome, money, name, fame, everything. And he joined the ashram. And I was kind of Bhakta leader at the time, and he was very good in many things. He knew how to cook. He has good qualities. And his mom, she was very upset with us. Very upset. And I remember she did these candles. She just stood outside the temple and screaming to the people, "These people stole my kid," things like this. Biggest candles. Seriously. And one day, I opened the door because she never wanted to come. And she came to the temple. And I said, well, let's talk, what is it? You make a big scandal, we got to settle things down. Well, she was crying, and I tried to explain what is the process. And, he was like this because he has so much respect to his parents because, they were really, really nice people. But we couldn't convince her about, and not even him. He should stay. What his mother says, well, I'm going to give you the Harley Davidson that you wanted, remember?
What was that? Can you say that again? Last sentence?
Oh, the Harley Davidson.
Harley Davidson.
The
bike. Okay.
Yeah, you remember when you were a kid, you were asking, I said, I will give you that. Please, get out of this temple. 2 days later, he left the temple.
Oh, is it? He left it? Okay.
But he is still a devotee. He's a good devotee.
Okay, nice.
But the motorcycle took him from the ashram as a brahmachari.
Very nice.
Later on, he got married, but he's still a good devotee. He never gave up to be a Krishna consciousness. But it's something to laugh about.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing that, Prabhu.
His name is Triadish Das.
Huh?
The devotee's name is Triadish Das.
Triadish
actually.
Das. Okay. Triadish.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you to the you to the OG devotee right here.
Yes.
He's such a gift. But let's get back to what you were talking about and return to that briefly before we end. Is that in all organizations, and especially when one's coming into one taking up this Krishna conscious path right here. And I'm speaking from an individual collective experience. I'm not speaking on people's day to day or anything like that. The number one thing is gossip.
What is it?
Is getting back to what you said is for one to stop criticizing.
Yes.
That's like one of the most hardest elements right there, because I can indicate something to somebody and make up an entire thesis about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I understand that, and I think that's the most important thing for me. I'm not speaking on no one else. I'm not projecting this to no one else. I'm just saying this as far as I've come in this road here.
Oh.
When you want to take it up another notch, that's the boulder right there.
Right.
So no one else say.
Yeah, I know. It's very difficult to
Yeah.
stop criticism.
Act slick, Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions? Haribol. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai. Shri Radha Giridhari ki jai.